One of my best friends dated Miley Cyrus, then Destiny Cyrus, back in middle school. We all went to the same elementary school then started middle school together. Mind you, this is all before Hannah Montana was created. Back then her and her brother, Trace Cyrus, of Metro Station fame, were just Billy Ray Cyrus's kids, which didn't mean much to us back then. They dated for all of our 6th grade year until she moved to Toronto, I believe, to start pre-production on a Disney show, which we would later find out to be Hannah Montana. He wasn't too beat up about it, as he described her as being kinda crazy. One story I remember is that after a mutual friend of theirs was broken up with by her boyfriend, Millie tried to get my friend to make out with her to cheer her up, which he refused to do. Also, after the show came out and her face was all over Tiger Beat and 17 magazine, we would rip out the pictures of her, cut a hole in the mouth, hold them up to our face and chase him around saying, "I miss you asterisk asterisk asterisk. Come to Hollywood and be with me." We probably could have been a little nicer about it. My aunt rejected Snoop Dogg during their teens. They went to the same high school. Apparently he was a stoner at the time. Crazy, right? Nate Dogg and Cameron Diaz went to the same school as well. My cousin dated Chris Pratt right after high school. She said they never slept together though, because he was too sweaty. She didn't say it, but I think she's the reason he went to Hawaii. A friend of mine had an odd crush on Lil and went to a concert of his. Woke up in his bed the next day. Said that was pretty good. They smoked some and banged and passed out. He bought her a McDonald's biscuit sandwich the next morning and dropped her off. Adam Sandler went to the same middle school and high school as me at a different time in NH. He dated my 8th grade teacher's daughter for a while before he moved to New York for SNL. He was well liked, and he even called my 8th grade teacher to wish her well on her retirement some 20 years later. So take this as you will, but a really good friend in college told me she had a date with Jamie Foxx. A date in the sense that they got drinks and had. She said he was super nice, but extremely pompous. She said that during he would say crap like "say you wanna suck Jamie Foxx's," and would refer to himself in the third person. My HS English teacher went to HS with Bill Nye. He asked her to the prom, and she turned him down because he was a nerd. But I hated that teacher. I went on one date with Hannibal Buress. He was in my city briefly after doing a benefit gig elsewhere a few years ago, and we matched on Tinder, met up for a drink before his flight left later that evening. He's a cool dude. I had fun. Did not have, sorry to disappoint. Apparently he's pretty notorious for being on Tinder, so I feel like a lot of people probably have a similar story, lol. Pretty D-list, but my fiancé went to HS with one of the girls on VH1's Black Ink crew. I guess they hooked up a few times. Was seeing Hannah Murray, Gilly, Got or Cassie, Skins, for a while around 10 years or so ago. Just when season 2 of Skins came out. Turns out a girl I worked with knew her. I fancied her, and so we orchestrated a meeting between us. She organized a coffee with her, and I just so happened to stumble into the cafe. We hit it off, and we ended up having a little thing for 5 months or so. We went to the cinema, ate and drank. She is highly intelligent, very perceptive and really quite funny. I was young and rubbish at dating, and I'm guessing she wasn't too experienced either. In the end she called me one day after a week of silence and dumped me because she was going to uni. Fair enough. I'm super happy for her and think she's a great actress. My aunt rejected Jim Carrey when they were younger. Friend of mine dated a US senator. He wasn't really around often. She'd fly down to see him in DC occasionally, but they'd only see each other when he was in district. Their dates were usually at home or in a private setting. I met him at a house party. Very nice guy. It was interesting to see him when the cameras weren't around. It didn't last long. She wanted something a little more stable. Someone in my high school dated Shia LaBeouf. IDK how they were together, but pretty cool that it happened at all. Celebs usually date other celebs, so it's very cool. My aunt dated John Shatner of Papa John's in the 90s. Dude is a complete freaking wipe that I wouldn't piss on if he were on fire. One of the few places I absolutely refuse to give a dime of my money. My aunt rejected Mark Wahlberg during high school. An English teacher of mine went on one date with the actress of the Underworld movie series. He said that she was a mousy shy girl who was very nice, but they didn't click at all. We tested him, that he could have been a kept man in the Mediterranean somewhere, but no, he was teaching us heads. I dated a model, I won't mention her name, but we were off and on for 2 years. However, she is off mentally, very manipulative, using her good looks / body to her advantage. It finally ended when she hit me with her car one night while she was drinking. Luckily didn't get hurt, never spoke again. Word to the guys out there as a moral to this story: thinking with your Johnson brings out all the crazes. Just hang on, this will go somewhere. My mom claimed to me when I was a kid that she used to always buy pizza for people she really liked. And she told me one time she bought pizza for the entire school football team in high school. She also told me that after a concert she bought pizza for the band Madness. If you don't know, they made that Our House in the Middle of Our Street song and went on a date with the drummer. Then as an adult my mom told me she slept with the drummer from Madness. Everything started piecing itself together in my head. And now I'm worried that buying pizza was a euphemism for sleeping with people, and I'm too scared to ask if my mom slept with the whole football team. I dated Betts many years ago. He was unfailingly thoughtful and kind. He was going through a crazy overindulging in drugs and alcohol phase, but somehow never forgot to make sure I felt safe and taken care of. He assigned me a roadie to make sure I was taken care of while he was on stage. Once he had a bit of a breakdown and started destroying a hotel room. When he saw I was getting worried, he picked me up and carried me to the door of the suite, then called the road manager to come get me. He walked barefoot across broken glass with me in his arms. My cousin dated G-Dragon, who is basically the biggest K-pop star. She said he was nice, but he wouldn't let her see his even after they were together for 3 months. I asked Sarah Gilbert out for coffee. She was doing a stage production at the theater I was working at as a teen in the 90s. I had a huge crush on her and finally worked up the courage to ask her out on the last night of the show run. She said she couldn't let teenage me down, nice and gentle. She was very sweet about the whole thing. No one ever believes me, but I very briefly dated Monica Lewinsky. I was much more into her than she me, so much like Bill Clinton I did not have relations with that woman. I thought she was amazingly intelligent, and I think people who slag her off really are being hypocritical. And my brother briefly dated / hung around Hayden Panettiere right after her first Disney movie came out, Tiger Cruise. It was one of my favorites at the time, before Heroes or anything. Apparently she had family who had a lake house in our hometown, and they met at a party and started to hang out when she would visit her family. She even came to the Strawberry Festival with me and my brother. Mind you, I'm 10 years younger, so I was like 7 or 8 at the time, and was really nice to me because I was so awestruck to be meeting a Disney actress. She even made a DIY candle with me at a festival booth that I kept 4 years afterward. Nicest girl he ever introduced me to, second only to his later fiancée. My friend's mum dated David Tennant for a year when she was 19 apparently. I'm not sure how true it is because she doesn't talk about it much when questioned, and honestly I would never shut up about it if it was me, but she said he was very funny and sweet. I think the breakup was mutual. Not much of a story really. I used to be friends with this guy that dated Christina Grimmie. He was her drummer. He was pretty quiet most of the time, but a very likable person and good looking and everything. It especially sucked for him when she died because he was the last person to be deserving of anything like that. Lost his girlfriend and his job. I'm sure he's probably doing okay now though. My so went on a date with Rosario Dawson via a mutual friend, so now every time I feel ugly / we get in an argument, I just yell, why don't you go back to Rosario? Seriously though, she's hot. I cannot compare. I dated the guitarist from Taking Back Sunday briefly and was good friends with Steve Buscemi's son through college. I didn't date his son, but my friend did, and my boyfriend at the time was in a band with him, so we would hang out at Steve's house a lot. Knew a guy who got fairly close to Amanda Bynes. Not dated but good friends. I just want to say she was a really freaking nice person who probably couldn't handle the sharkiness of Hollywood. I have a newfound disdain for that culture. My great aunt had an affair with Tim Horton. Edit. My dad has informed me that the aunt and Tim Horton were married at the time. Double indeed. My aunt dated Tom Selleck. Apparently she liked his brother more. That's all I know. Who could resist that mustache though? My friend turned down Jennifer Connelly. In the mid-80s she spent the summers in a small town on Long Island. This was after she was in the labyrinth, but before the Rocketeer. Parents were friends somehow, so she would hang out with a local circle of friends. One evening she asked him to go on a walk. He said no. He is still made fun of it to this day. She was very nice by all accounts. Friend of mine, when I was younger, was dating Sam, the guitarist from Dragon Force. I met him several times. He got us VIP tickets to a show, and he even came to several of my crappy punk band's gigs. Super nice and supportive dude. Would love to see him again someday. My father-in-law briefly dated Gillian Anderson in high school when she lived in Grand Rapids, and my sister's friend's mom is Callista Flockhart's cousin, and so you know, Harrison Ford. My cousin dated Jamie Lee Curtis in college. He said she was very nice. They were together a while. Once college was over they headed in different directions. I had a friend in high school, Frick Mike Hoffman if that counts, NHL hockey player at the time with the Ottawa Senators. She said he was that's all I really got. Also, pretty sure he was with his current girlfriend, Monica Carrick, at the time. They've been involved in some pretty crazy crap, if you care to Google their names.